Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast for the Mountain TT in the Tour de France, Stage 13, the second mountain stage from Loudainville to Périgueux. The Périgueux is a very quite irregular climb, starts at about 1,000 meters and finishes on the Altiport with ramps up to 16%. The last 250, 300 meters of this stage are interminable, very, very steep. The last time this was in the Tour de France, it was a sprint à deux between Vingegaard and Pogačar after Brandon McNulty destroyed the peloton. But today's a TT, 11Ks. The first 3.5Ks, I mean, I don't want to call them flat. For us mortals, they're not flat, but it's 40Ks an hour plus to the first intermediate, which is flat and fast for these guys. We had the absolute beatdown yesterday, Benji. Pogačar just, took 2 minutes plus. Vingegaard collapsed at the end. And, we had the TT backing up today. I don't know what else. Is there any other news? Anything else happened in between stages?
Well, there's quite a bit of news we have to discuss in a weekly show at some point, but I think the major topic to discuss before the Stamtrail is equipment. Because there was so much rumors, etc., about which bike is that rider going to ride? Is that rider going to go for a road bike or a TT bike? Is there going to be a bike change after 3.5 kilometers before this mountain starts? And it all depends on the rider. And I think we need to start off this discussion by saying that just because one rider chooses a TT bike and another chooses a road bike and one of the two does better, doesn't necessarily mean that that choice is wrong to go for that bike, because it depends on rider by rider. For example, let's say hypothetically, I choose a time trial bike, but I can't keep myself in position and I can't push the watts in a time trial position. Then for me personally, a time trial bike is a very bad option. But then, for example, a Primož Roglic who chooses a time trial bike, spoilers in today's time trial, and he stays in TT position so long in this time trial, he can push the watts in that TT position. As a consequence, that is a very good decision for him. On the other end, we heard Pogačar, who is riding a road bike in this time trial. He's riding a road bike, no TT extensions either, so whatever Frankenstein setup we saw a couple weeks ago already by now with the road bike with a TT extension for a Colnago, that was not used today. It was a regular, I think, Colnago 1YRS, Y1RS. I always switch the letters around in my head because the naming scheme of those bikes is not obvious in my personal opinion. That being said, he came out with a road bike, and then I look at that equipment and I'm thinking, okay, first 3.5 kilometers flat. On paper, that's a disadvantage on the flat versus an advantage on the climb versus the TT bikes. That's the idea I have towards this time trial. But then again, these riders are climbing so incredibly fast that a TT bike, the aero advantage, if you can stay in position, might actually almost be as good as being in a road bike. So there's so many small effects here that it all depends rider by rider, right?
Well, you don't even have to be in position. The bike is faster. Over 20 k's an hour. So just the bike alone is faster. And it depends how light you can get the bike. And when we saw the side profile of Primož Roglic Shiv, I mean, it was very, very thin on the back, the seat stays and the seat tube. And then Vingegaard's Cervelo was also like, it was the raw paint job from the Comblow Cervelo. So that's, if it's approaching the weight of the Aero road bike, then even if you don't get any extensions, you may as well use the TT bike. And then it's also, what helmet do you use? It wasn't so hot today. They started 1,000 meters, 24 degrees, not stinking hot like yesterday. We saw some different helmet choices as well, because Aero's great. We all love it. We love you, Aero people. You know, we love you. But if your head starts cooking like an egg, and also if your head is where you perceive heat, and if it starts cooking and you have heat distress or heat stress that causes your watts to go down 25%. It don't matter if the helmet gives you 2 watts of aero on 25 kph. So helmet choice.
How much is all of that psychological as well? The thought of, oh, my helmet might warm me up. That might lead to a rider choosing a helmet that might be a regular road helmet, etc., over a aero helmet. How much is that physical versus mentally? Because I reckon mentally it also matters a little bit, no?
Definitely. Like, Pogačar, clearly, when he saw this TT, he said in an interview afterwards, so we're not speaking for him, He said this TT for him was a question mark in December when the route was announced, or the winter. And that's because of the history of... Now you say, why is that? But, well, the Planche de Belfier TT was completely polarized. It was a long flat section where you clearly use a road bike, a TT bike rather, and then a 20-minute climb where you clearly use a road bike. Actually, I'm not sure that's true anymore because they did a climb today and just used the road bike. Anyway, a TT bike. Pogacar also probably a bit more worried about heat and cooling. That's a big focus point for him. And then there's the history of the Combloux TT where he underperformed. Vingegaard overperformed, he underperformed. And I think he's not just questions about himself. Actually, I think he had more questions about the equipment. I think we saw that in the Dauphiné TT where he was clearly like paranoid that the Visma bike was super light because he went and weighed it, the TT bike. And he said afterwards, and it wasn't clear, we saw some Frankenstein setups, road bikes with aero extensions. We saw a variety of setups. He went with the aero road bike just straight up, although I think he said they brought in some different things like the day of. So I think he pushed the team to make the equipment on point. That being said, I think Pogacar could have gone way quicker in this TT. But I'll get to that hot take.
We'll get to that. I don't think it's a hot take, but we'll get to that. But I also want to add to that I think Pogacar's choice is also partially out of comfort. He knows that he can do it with that bike, and he's not necessarily 100% sure he can keep the position and push the same watts in a time trial bike, a Colnago TT bike that, based on what I've heard, is a little bit heavier than a Cervelo TT bike, than a Spec TT bike. So that also plays into his decision. But anyway, we've spoken about equipment quite a bit. We'll get to your theory after we go through the GC riders. But I want to start off with the calm entry into the time trial, Patrick. We've got the sprinters going up the climb. There was a lot of talk about OTL because before the Tour de France, I'm pretty sure the out of time limit was about 25% or something. So basically, if a rider, like, let's say, Pogacar does a certain time, then the last rider had to finish within 25% of that person that came first. And that was too close. So before the Tour de France, the race upped that from 25, I think, to somewhere in the 30s, maybe 30, maybe 35. But the morning of or yesterday evening, they switched it to 40%. So making it even less likely, rather unlikely, that anyone goes out of time limit on this time trial. But I would say that I don't know what my opinion is on it. I saw some people on the internet complaining about changing the time limit, etc. I don't mind it too much, changing the time limit today. At the end of the day, the time limit for me in road stages is something where if you can't finish within the time limit, it's often because, like Merku a couple of years ago,
it's for sick and injured people.
Exactly. And on this time trial, we don't want all the sprinters to dip out.
That's stupid.
Just because Pogacar is going to drop a massive bomb on this time trial, you know?
Exactly. The point of this TT is not to OTL sprinters. Now, in a road stage with a hard start, if Intermarché want to set up some sort of strategy where they drop a Milan or Merlier and then pace the whole stage to OTL them, I think that's more play on.
Yeah.
But that's like a whole... First of all, that never happens. Secondly...
I think Bora tried that at some point with Sagan against someone, but I don't remember.
The only team that can actually do that and could do that and maybe will do that to win green...
It's Pogacar and
UAE.
It's
Pogacar and UAE, yeah. If they wanted to be particularly vindictive.
Imagine!
They could fucking do it, I swear. They could do it on the Lalo stage. They could... Mate, it starts with a 1 hour climb, and if Pollitt just goes... Yeah. Anyway, that's a separate discussion. Before we get into the... Pogacar was the heavy favorite. He was like $1.16 to win this TT. No surprise after yesterday. Vingegaard, $7.50. But before we get into the results, a word on Morton. Morton, especially in the time trials. That's why we're talking about Morton today. Bicarbonate, their system is used by many of these teams, many of these riders, not just ones that they sponsor, but also many teams that just use their products and buy them themselves because they have the best bicarb system, and the TTs is especially important when they use that. I mean, we've seen some riders use bicarb and it hasn't worked in previous years. That doesn't, they get blocked or whatever. That doesn't happen anymore with the Morton bicarb system. There's no stomach issues, cramps. That's where it changes the game, because instead of swallowing spoonfuls of baking soda or messy liquids, Morton's hydrogel technology delivers the bicarb encapsulated in, it's like protected, and so the gel carries it through your stomach and it bypasses your stomach, so it's absorbed by your intestines, so you don't get that stomach distress. So it's not something to take every day. It's for big efforts, short TTs, sprints, or maybe when the pace goes nuclear, you take it 90 minutes before go time, and then you can push harder for longer. It's, of course, Informed Sports certified, vegan friendly, and WADA approved. And it comes with the pack, if you buy it from Morton, comes with a digital planner to help guide you based on your weight and experience. So if you want to try, if you've got a big TT coming up, you've got a big short effort coming up, or maybe you're a sprinter with some important stages, some criteriums, for example, check Morton's bicarb system out at morton.com and get an edge for race day. Okay, TT Benji, you know how we do it. We were dot watching. Tadej Pogačar wins this time trial as expected. We had an intermediate time check at the bottom of the hill, one halfway up, and then, of course, the finish. And let me just get T2 to the finish. Order by finish. And yeah, he was the most surprising part of this TT, Benji, is Pogačar was first at T1.
Yeah.
Over Evenepoel, who was on a TT bike, by 5 seconds. Am I allowed? I have to, because I haven't been able to do it for 10 days. And I'm not going to be able to probably do it for another 10 days.
Okay.
I'll criticize Tadej Pogačar.
Go ahead. The table is set. You can do
it. I feel like, cause he's on the road, but I feel like he might have overpaced the start.
Probably.
Because he's not on a TT bike and he's put them on 5 seconds.
Like, so basically I'll just explain what you're saying in a simple fashion. So Remco and Jonas are both starting on a time trial bike. Pogačar is starting on a road bike. For Pogačar to do better on the flat first for 3.5 kilometers than Remco and Jonas, he has to do absolute watts notably higher than Jonas and Remco on that segment. Because on paper, the TT bike is an equipment advantage for the first 3.5 kilometers.
It's 43 k's an hour.
So what you're saying is that Pogačar must have maybe overpaced a little bit in this part to be above Remco and Jonas at the first time check. And therefore, he could have done better overall in this time trial if he paced it a little bit more balanced throughout.
Yeah, and then when I see the watts, yeah. Like if he goes 5 or 7 seconds slower at the start, maybe he takes it up more on the climb. Because he's on the climbing setup. He's on the perfect setup for the climb.
Can I be honest? Cold take. I think you're completely right. But at the end of the day, he still wins the time trial. So I don't think he'll care.
And that's the thing. Pogačar, in theory, if he trained all winter to do this on a TT bike, if he had the big helmet on like Vingegaard had on, and if their TT bike was light enough, his gap could have probably been bigger. And you know why, Benji? I got another cold take for you. Tadej Pogačar is pushing more watts than everybody else over 20 minutes, over 30 minutes, over 5 minutes, over 40 minutes in this Tour de France. He's just pushing more fucking watts than everybody. I mean, this is not why you tune into LRCP. This is the hard-hitting analysis that the man who took 2 minutes yesterday on second is pushing more watts. But that's the reality. He's pushing just a shitload more watts than everybody. Even if Vingegaard was pushing the same watts per kilo, Pogačar would go faster because absolute watts, he's pushing more. Maybe not in the TT because of the setups, but whatever. Like, he's just better than everybody right now. And it didn't matter what setup he used. I don't think he could have won with a Brompton, like we said maybe yesterday. But
sounds like a challenge to me.
sounds like a GCN video, doesn't
it? Right. I think they're an official sponsor of the tour now, which is kind of interesting. But nonetheless,
GCN or Brompton?
Brompton. I don't think GCN is an official sponsor of the Tour de France. Nonetheless, you said it. Pogačar wins this time trial by 36 seconds. I'm unsure. After yesterday, my reaction is, a meager 36 seconds. But Jonas Vingegaard in this time trial was notably better than yesterday, right? Like, I have not seen the watts, but he looked like he was pushing more watts per kilo in this time trial.
Well, there was talk this morning that Pogačar might catch him. I think based on yesterday. So yesterday we had Halterkamp 35-minute climb. Pog took 2 minutes 7 on him, right? Today we got a 17-minute climb. And we're a 22-minute TT. So we're thinking, I think, a minute. If you took the over-under, Benji, it would have been a minute gap, right? If you had to set the line.
Today?
Yeah, set the line this morning on what the gap would be between Vingegaard and Pogačar. A minute?
If Jonas was on the
10?
same level as yesterday, I would have said around a minute. But I gotta say, 39 seconds is also probably what I expected before this Tour de France started to be the gap on this time trial.
Exactly, yeah.
So yesterday was the underperformance by Vingegaard for me. Today is the level I expected for this time trial.
In the 33k TT in the end of, which had a longer, shallower climb in it, Pogačar took a minute 2 on Vingegaard, but I mean, he might have been half pissed by that point of the Tour de France. So it was the last stage, and he still won it by a minute 2. I still think Vingegaard's on a good level, better level than yesterday. Roglic, excellent. So Roglic lost 4 minutes today. Vingegaard lost 2 minutes, which is probably both more than they expected. Roglic, excellent. He's third on 120. He also, I think, did the TT the most in the extensions of anybody. Extremely impressive time trial from Roglic. Libovic's teammate on 156. And that's still like, these are big gaps. I mean, look at that.
Yeah.
From Lipovic has overperformed, let's say, for his status. He's still losing 2 minutes to the winner in a 23-minute TT. He's still losing 1 minute 20 to second to Vingegaard, and yet he's taking big time on others. Luke Plapp, 5th on 158. He's the big, not overperformer, but the main guy that's amongst the GC contenders. Very, very good performance from him. What equipment did Plappy use? A road bike.
I don't remember. I won't lie. I may or may not have been climbing Otakam myself on the trainer at the exact moment that Plapp was riding, so I might not have seen the actual equipment, but you're referring to the road bike. Just in general, great TT by Luke Plapp. To be in between the GC riders on this climb doesn't only show that he started off strongly on the flat, but also on the climb itself. He kept it up towards the finish line. I'm pretty sure he said afterwards that he was braking a little bit on the last ramp, just like most riders probably in this time trial, because it's so crazy that you've got an entire time trial climbing up a mountain, all out. Your chin is on the floor by the time you reach the last 500 meters, and then the steepest part of the climb starts. That is terrifying, to be honest, but strong TT by Luke Plapp, overperformance compared to my expectations, especially because, let's be honest, his level in this Tour de France has been pretty meager so far, so to see him perform like this on the time trial, great stuff. And I also want to mention Lenny Martinez came and started a bit later than Luke Plapp, and he also tried to go all out despite not being in GC. And the reason Lenny Martinez went all out in this time trial is not for GC or stage victory stuff. It's because the fastest, well, basically, the stage also gives KOM points, is what I'm trying to say. So Lenny Martinez was trying to get as many KOM points as possible, and he did get some, but let's go from P6 to P10 now, Patrick. You can talk about Matteo for a second.
Yeah, so round it out. Yeah, Jorgensen 202, Onley 206, Adam Yates 215, Lenny Martinez 221, Felix Gold 222, Vauquelin 235, Remco 239, Carlos Rodriguez 248, Johannesson 252, Sweeney backs up his Swiss TT 253, Enrique Mas 258, and we'll stop there with maybe the GC. Ben Healy 338, Ben O'Connor 340. So both Jorgensen and Vingegaard better than yesterday. And I would say Vauquelin, I expected Gold to be better, actually, losing time to Only, but that kind of reflects, I would say, Gold has just not been as sharp as Swiss more generally this race. Vauquelin, I think he would have wanted on a 7% average climb to be around Only. And because the Swiss TT, he was maybe just a bit further back, but it was very, very steep. Remco's the big shock, Benji. He gets caught by Vingegaard in the last 10, 50, 20 meters and loses 239 to Pog and 233 to Vingegaard. That must be a big blow. He keeps third, but the Sharks are circling for his third spot and the white jersey.
For sure. if you're Remco Evenepoel, you want to top 5 this time trial. And you're probably hoping for more as well than that. You're hoping to finish 3rd in this time trial, which is not the case. He finishes 12th in this time trial. So that's not just losing 2:39 on Tadej Pogacar, that's losing 2 minutes on Jonas Vingegaard, getting passed by Vingegaard in the last 100 meters, because every 2 minutes, a GC rider started in the last couple of riders, which means that Vingegaard was 2 minutes plus faster than Remco. So in the last 100 meters up the steep ramp, we see Jonas Vingegaard getting closer and closer to Remco Evenepoel and passing him. And I think mentally that must break you for Vingegaard to pass you on that final ramp as well. So I think Remco will probably be feeling a bit shit after this time trial, 2:39 down. But what do you think is the reasoning? Because at the end of the day, like, climbing level wise, he was closer at the last Tour de France than the distance we now see between Remco and the Pogacar and Vingegaard of the world, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. But when I go back to that time trial, Benji, of the Nice time trial, I mean, he's 3rd there. He's only 11 seconds behind Vingegaard there. He's only 1:13 behind Pogacar, and he smokes. Like, he puts a minute into Almeida. He puts nearly a minute into Jorgensen. Now, I grant you it's a 5.7% climb, but the actual amount of climbing was more in that stage. More. And so I think he's just not... He's either having a couple of bad days consecutively, or... I don't know, because like Vingegaard had a bad day yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Vingegaard was comfy on Soulor. Vingegaard was comfy on Broe. Vingegaard probably could have put a minute into Lipovic with a normal Skytrain strategy where he doesn't have to follow the Narvaez nuclear lead out.
Yeah.
That's his bad. Remco got dropped 2 kilometers into the first category 1 climb of this Tour de France from a group of 25.
But then he's able to ride for 90 minutes at a tempo that is good enough to, at the end of the day, still pass Roglic, etc., and actually finish relatively close to the GC riders. Like, not close to Pogacar, but close to his podium competitors. So that's by far not an optimal way of riding that stage yesterday. It was not a decision. He confirmed it afterwards. He was just fucked when he dropped from that group on the Soulor. So he knew he couldn't push the watts, so he tried to do his own tempo to follow. And I also think that doing an effort like that yesterday, riding alone for 90 minutes, most of it had some help from Schachmann and from Van Wilder on Soulor, but most of it was also him by himself trying to come back, and afterwards, when he got dropped again on the final climb, to go again relatively solo. I think that effort also is in his legs in today.
That's the thing,
But on the other hand...
he had to chase Wellens in a false flat downhill valley.
Yeah. But also, I still expect a better time trial of him, you know? It's like, this climbing level will not be enough for Remco Evenepoel to keep the podium by the end of Paris. That's not a hot take. That's a super cold take. So he needs to climb faster in the next 2 weeks if he wants to compete with Lipovic, Roglic, and the other podium competitors.
And he collapses, Benji. I mean, he's 25th in the last 10 minutes of this TT. 25th.
Yep.
Like, he's behind Romain Gregoire. He's behind...
He exploded.
Yeah, he exploded. He loses a minute in the last 10 minutes to Vingegaard. And he was second at T1, so he came out hot out of the gates. T1 to T2, it also already started to look bad. He was 16th from T1 to T2. Maybe he overpaced at the start. I
don't know, maybe, but also he had a small mechanical. I don't see it as an excuse because it looked like he was back on. Maybe the chain was on the wrong thing. He couldn't move it. I don't know what the actual mechanical was that he had, but he got it working again after like 5 to 6 seconds. So I assume that that it didn't impact his time trial that much. I think it was just his level today just wasn't good enough. And that is a sad reality, and he'll have to find better legs, for the next 2 weeks to be able to fight for the podium. As simple as that. But on the positive side, Lipovic and Roglic, today's time trial, extremely good. Roglic finishing 3rd, and that's the thing, Patrick. Like, you mentioned at the start that, let's say for Vingegaard and Remco, they've done tests before the Tour de France, they've realized that a TT bike, perhaps even out of the skis, out of the TT extensions, is faster for those two riders, applicable to them. Now, we see Roglic, and he climbs most of this climb in his TT extensions. That is taking it to the next level, right?
Yeah, he looked good the whole time. He didn't have like the overly too high cadence butt wiggle, and he's like Roglic is third from T1 to T2. He's fifth at T1. He's third T2 to the finish, and he just paces this TT excellently. Lipovitz a little bit slower in the final, so Roglic finished stronger than Lipovitz. He took 27 seconds on him there, which was actually the majority of his margin on Lipovitz at the finish. He beat him by 36 seconds at the finish. And fuck me, Plapp did like the T1 to the finish. Hold on. I'm just doing the climb filter now. T1 to the finish. So yeah, on the climb, Hog beats Vingegaard by 28. Plapp's fourth fastest on the climb.
Crazy, huh?
Yeah, like he puts 4 seconds into Lipovitz on the climb. Holy shit. I know Plapp's been able to he hasn't had to push the same way the GC guys have every day, but still, to be able to pull out that performance is big.
But we've spoken about our stage results, etc. We saw, honestly, once again a pretty great stage as well from Thingy. Let me open it up so I'm not inventing bullshit here. But Only finishing 7th on this, just behind Jorgensen, also a pretty good time trial from him.
Fourth fastest GC rider on the climb.
And he's also fighting for a top 5 position in the running for this entire Tour de France. So great to see that. Lenny Martinez, like you said, ends up finishing 9th.
Only's podium favorite.
Podium favorite?
Well, Remco's going to collapse, right?
Lipovitz is podium favorite for me.
But Lipovitz collapsed on that last Dauphiné. What happened to him on that Dauphiné stage?
Yeah, but we've seen Only have some collapses in his life as well. So it's not like he's the beacon of consistency either.
Only looks like he's different gravy right now.
I hope for Picnic Boston they could use UCI points.
He is a genuine podium contender.
I see him as top 5 contender. I think 4th is a ceiling.
Okay.
We might disagree. Let's find out at the end of this Tour de France.
Yeah. I think Only he got worked by Broe yesterday by the 2 leaders, which was smart. But then fourth on the climb today. I mean, it's only 2 seconds quicker than Lipovitz, so they've about equal. So yeah, maybe I'd still have Lipovitz probably on the.
Does the fact that both Roglic and Lipovitz did well today change the strategy for Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe? Because yesterday the conclusion is Lipovitz was stronger than Roglic, who blew up in the last portion of that climb.
I think they got to play both.
Fantastic time trial. What, sorry?
They got to play both.
Yeah.
Play both.
I think so too.
Against Only, who'll be isolated, Remco, who'll be isolated, Vauquelin, who'll be isolated, and just play them like they did yesterday. And because yesterday Only started pacing with Lipovitz in the wheel to stop being attacked, and then Lipovitz countered him and took time. So I think they're playing it the right way for podium, and Bora are right there. They're right there for podium. I don't need to go through any of the other stage results. I might do the revised GC. Pogacar extends his lead to over 4 minutes 4:07. Evenepoel is in 3rd, but a narrow margin now to 4th. He's on 7:24, 3 minutes and 17 behind Vingegaard. So Vingegaard's looking pretty comfortable in 2nd, I would say. But yeah, Lipovitz. This is where it's really interesting. The most interesting battle in this tour is this region here. Remco 7:24, Lipovitz 7:30, Only 8:11, Vauquelin 8:15. They're all within a minute of each other from 3rd to 6th. And then Roglic is on 8:50, and maybe he might come good into this race. Johannesson had a bad TT today, I would say. He lost 2:52. It's not a good performance, so he lost a lot of time. But the white jersey, Evenepoel, Lipovitz, Only, Vauquelin, they're all eligible, and they're all within a minute, which is, I think quite exciting. I can't remember the last genuine white jersey battle we had in the Tour, Benji. I don't think I've ever covered one.
I don't know either. Well, Pogacar took a lot of them.
No, but like a battle.
Has to be like in the late 2010s. I don't remember anything in 2020s where we saw an actual fight for the white
Pinot
jersey.
And Bardet?
So that's a long time ago, buddy.
We have never covered a proper white jersey battle. It's literally been Pog, 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 Pog too old, Remco. And that's my recollection of the white jersey battles.
Bernal Tour de France, he cleaned it up. The year before, Latour cleaned it up relatively. Yates 2 minutes on Mankeys in 2017. That's a duo I did not expect to see at the top of that. And then the year before, it was Adam Yates and Mankey. So Mankey's been on the brink of a white jersey 2 years in a row. When he was riding for Lampre Merida, I did not remember that. You could have... There's these moments where I see a certain rider and
UAE has some crazy rosters. I'm telling you, go and look at the UAE rosters in the late 2010s. You were like, no way he was on their team. I'm going to find one while you keep going. Let me find one.
I've got an example. Cajarural Kwiatkowski rode for that team.
And Carthy.
That's insane to me. I did not remember that for the life of me. Like, a lot of people forget that Ghana rode for UAE.
Exactly,
like,
yeah. And
that's one of those examples. And just 2017, 2018, Mankey's rode for UAE Team Emirates in those years, example there. But there's so many names where, like, Ben Swift riding for UAE in 2017. I couldn't say that for the life of me.
I'm trying to find one. I'm trying to find a good one.
That's
not Christian Durasek.
I'm waiting, buddy. I'm waiting.
I'm still in the Italian era.
Do we consider Lampre?
What do you mean?
Do we consider Lampre in this discussion?
Yeah, it's the same team.
But
it is. It just changed sponsor. What do you mean? It's like saying is Jumbo the same as Visma? It's the same team.
No. The exact Lampre to UAE is from Rabobank to Visma Leasebike.
Why?
Because I swear their entire structure changed. Well, wasn't it first going to become like a Chinese team in 2017? And then eventually UAE stepped in to sponsor it? I could be wrong here, but I swear there was quite a lot of changes there.
Let me check.
Well, we should continue talking because there's people listening, Patrick.
No, but it was Giannetti at Lampre, right?
Yeah, probably. But it's still like, it was a notable change from Lampre to UAE. It wasn't like, okay, just switch. At some point, it was supposed to be like a Chinese investor that came in and took the team over, and then eventually it became UAE that took it over, and there was such a big discussion during those years, if I recall correctly.
Oh, I can't find my good one.
I have no clue who you're referring either, so...
I just try to find I love naming baseball players. Dan Martin's always a good one, but I think he got some good Ardennes results there.
Yeah. He was a pretty solid rider at UAE.
Yeah, he was a solid rider there. I think. Whoa.
Anyway, let's talk about the Tour de France.
Joe Dombrowski. UAE, I know he was there for ages, but yeah, 2 years. Yeah, that Joe Dombrowski was a strange one. Okay, in terms of GC, I think white jersey battle is going to be really, really good. And yeah, I mean, Vingegaard, Benji, let's preview tomorrow's stage because that kind of sets the scene for what we expect for the GC teams to do in the future, because we've got a big mountain stage tomorrow. This is the second of 3 big mountain stages, 183 k's from which always has a Tour de France stage, finishing in Luchon Super Bagnères. We're moving further away from Lourdes, and it's a brutal stage, nearly 5,000 meters of climbing. They do the Col du Tourmalet, which finishes crest at 2,100 meters, 19k, 7.5%. First 70 k's is flat. Descent, Col d'Aspin, 5k, 7.5%. Descent, false side uphill valley, Col de Peresoude, 7k's, 8%. Descent, and then Luchon Super Bagnères. It's an HC climb, maybe a bit generous. It is HC, I guess. 12.6k, 7.5%. And it is a bit steep at the finish, like last 2k's are around 8.5%. And what do you think is going to happen, Benji? Do you think that we have our first mountain break?
I think we do. And the reason that I think the breakaway wins this is because, first of all, I don't think Pogacar wants to end up ending this Tour de France with the whole peloton calling him greedy, which is a stupid reason not to win stages. But it is a reality in the sport of cycling. Now, I expect him to go for, well, before the tour started, I expected him to win Otacam, Peragure, Cor-la-Loz, and maybe Van too. If I look at this specific stage, there is space for a breakaway to go. There is space to give a breakaway enough of a gap. There's enough of a climb on the Tourmalet to have a breakaway be pretty large. But then on the other hand sure, UAE might be okay with the breakaway winning, but what about other teams? Will Visma Leasebike suddenly change their strategy because they're losing? Will they switch from their strategy, which was trying to make the race as hot as possible, hoping for a bad day for Pogacar, stuff like that, trying to limit his lead out before the final climb, all those details, by hard pacing the climbs? In doing so, limiting the chances of a breakaway to win, that also hurts the breakaway. If Visma keeps that same strategy up, then I'm not sure the break might make it to the finish line, because then UAE might be okay. They launch Pogacar, and then Pogacar's good enough to close a 3-4 minute gap on the final climb. So that's a detail there. On the other hand, are we going to see a fight where teams from P3 to P10 launch it? I don't necessarily think that, because I think most of those riders are just trying to ride their best race individually, and they let the quote-unquote super teams decide how the race goes, and then play with the scenario they are given, trying to energy manage throughout and trying to have the best result possible at the end of the race. Now, I do expect the breakaway to win on this one for the reason I've said, for the reason that UAE, I don't think will 100% race to have this won by Pogacar. They'll try and keep their riders, and if they can keep their riders, then they have a lead out for Pogacar, and a lead out for Pogacar is great, but Pogacar doesn't even need to attack. Like,
they're going to go for the
large
stage,
enough,
Benji.
you just chill in the wheel of Vingegaard.
They're going to go for the stage.
You think UAE will go for the stage?
Yeah, Pog said it'd be nice to go for the stage, but no pressure. That means... Because what are they got to do? What are they got to do? Nils Pollitt
Control
does...
the flat?
Control the flat. Nils Pollitt does Tourmalet. The gap can be 6 minutes. Then Wellens does and Soler and Wellens do the 2 little climbs, Peresud and Aspin. Paris is not even a little climb. Still 5 minutes. Still 5 minutes. Then they speed up in the valley with Wellens or whatever. I think the problem is Sivakov's no good. And then Pog can do the last climb 5 minutes quicker than anyone on the break.
Yeah, but in that scenario, Visma's doing nothing.
Yeah. So, and then the other scenario is Visma starts pacing earlier to introduce fatigue, or they start attacking, and then UAE take over again. And Pog still goes for it.
If the peloton wins, it's always Pogacar. There's no one else that can win the stage then.
Yeah.
So the breakaway is a more fun choice.
But I just said the breakaway has no chance.
Yeah, but it's boring to pick Pogacar.
Yeah. Maybe UAE will. Maybe you're right, Benji. Maybe you're right. Pogacar will let the break win. Depends on who's in the break.
We gotta give these guys a bit of hope. Why are they jumping in the breakaway otherwise? They're listening to you on LRCP, these riders, and they're like, Patrick's saying that the break has no choice. Like, I'm sorry, but they need hope, these breakaway riders.
Yeah, okay, so why did Tudor and Bahrain relay with Ineos in a break that was pegged at 140 for 3 hours?
To increase the gap.
Again, it's like you need to get they're gonna get the break anyway. Break candidates: Schkelmoser, Woods, Armirail,
Simon
Yates, Sepp Kuss, Adam Yates. Let Adam Yates have a go. Luke Plapp, maybe. I mean, I think Plapp can push a pretty good 20-minute power right now from what I saw today.
But I think O'Connor is higher in the hierarchy for stages.
O'Connor's just a better road rider.
Yeah.
Like, what Plapp should actually do is what he did in Catalunya. Plapp should get in the break with O'Connor and pull the Tourmalet full.
Yeah.
And then that's it. And then drop. Because, yeah, he'll just spend too much energy in the descents, etc. So, but otherwise, yeah, both of Benji and I think Pogacar's obviously evidently the favorite from the peloton, but he has a 4-minute gap, so he can be kind of on cruise control. And so you think, I think we're going to get a few Kuyol situations, Benji,
okay,
where it's all Lenny Martinez Dauphiné situations where Enrique and Carapaz were up there, and it's Pogacar's lurking, and it's kept tight, and then it's see how we go, and then in the end, Pogacar probably still wins.
Enric Mas has to go in the breakaway. He's on 24 minutes in GC after this stage, so that's a rider next to Schielmos I expect to be up there. I am going to go for we have to be clear here, Patrick. So up to this point, there's a guy or a girl, I don't know, who in the comment section of this podcast every single day posts a comment keeping track of our stage predictions. And I gotta break the news to you, Patrick, that you're not doing very well. So this is
no way. I pick Pog every day,
mate. I'm like 9-4 ahead of you or something, or 8-4. I've had more than 50% of the stage wins so far.
The sprinters aren't doing what I'm telling them, so that's the problem.
on a serious note, which means that on paper I need to pick Pogacar, but I'm going to give you a chance here. I'm going to go with Damon Arensman.
Oh, pity. He's giving me the pity.
I'm going with Arensman, but it's only out of Pithy. Out of Lawrence Pithy.
Out of Lawrence Pithy. Kiwis are quite nice people. But indeed, we'll see more gaps tomorrow. I think the big thing to watch tomorrow is Lipovic and Roglic are going to attack Remco, and I think Benji, you know why I said it's like Kuyol? Because I think UAE might do nothing. I think Visma might do nothing. And you know who paced the first part of Kuyol, or the latter part, Quickstep. And if I'm Picnic, if I'm Arkea, if I'm Red Bull, although the ghost of Alexander Vlasov might not be able to do it. Now, I see Remco today and yesterday. Vroom, vroom. Would be what I would be thinking. So I think we're going to start to see a race where everyone's like, Pog, great, do your thing, don't care that you exist. We're battling for third in the white jersey. You can go off and win by 30 seconds, 2 minutes, don't care. Yeah. And multi-screen will come in handy there. I think that's going to start happening.
I think that's possible.
And Arkea looked good. Arkea had 3 in the top 12 yesterday. Raul Garcia Pierna, who, by the way, is very big talent, just quietly. And Christian Rodriguez, who, Benji, you know what, take? It's always good to be, just wait and your take will eventually be correct, because he put 5 minutes into Carlos Rodriguez.
How many years has it been since we called Christian Rodriguez Godriguez and we said that Carlos was washed?
No. I said Christian Rodriguez was the better one. You said Carlos was the better one. You were correct. You were correct.
Until now.
Until now, you were very evidently correct. And I need to claim this minor victory. Yeah, just wait for your take to be correct.
I won the battle for years. You won the war. What can I say?
Yeah. So we'll take that. So yeah, Arkea, they're aggressive. Look to them to try to do something for Kevin Vukala. We'll see. All right. Hope you enjoyed the recap of the TT. And we'll see you for the recap of the Super Bagnaia mega hard proper mountain stage starting tomorrow on Saturday. Until then, ciao, ciao, ciao.